Hi, this is Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health. I am here at Webit and in beautiful Sofia, Bulgaria. And joining me right now, I have Sonny. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's started and sold several companies, most recently Misfit, which is a beautiful wearables company. And so we're going to talk to him a little bit about healthcare and branding, so pick up some of the things that we can learn. Hi, Sonny. Welcome.
It's really a pleasure and honor to be here.
Thank you. So sweet. So talk to me about Misfit and some of the things that you've learned. That was really like an aspirational brand as far as wearables went. What made it so? And what can we in the rest of healthcare learn from your experience there?
So when we first started Misfit, we really had no clue what we were doing. You know, we wanted to find something that was different, do something different, and really hack healthcare, wellness, fitness in a way that was different. And when we looked at, and honestly, we cheated. We looked on Amazon, we looked at our competitors, we looked on Amazon, and I read 5,000 reviews on our competitors. I'm like, oh, I know, I got it. People just want stuff that looks good. People want to look good, and they want to look good while trying to look good. Done. And something that was really simple. So we said, all right, that's what we set out to build. Something that was beautiful, really easy to use, and was powerful, could give you meaningful data. And so that's why we developed the Misfit Shine. Gosh, that was 2012. So it was a long time ago. We shipped the first product in 2013, and the rest is history. You know, I think we got lucky. And we got lucky with our the product approach and the branding approach, and in terms of the brand, we felt like let's build something that was meaningful. Let's build we had a point of view that I think was something that a lot of people could relate to, because even the name, it was based on this notion that at some point in life, everyone feels like a misfit. Everyone feels like they don't fit in. And we said, you know what, let's capture that. And so that it could be a brand for everyone. It could be something that you could relate to. You know, not everyone can be the triathlete or the Iron Man or whatever, Iron Woman, but everyone probably feels like a misfit at some point in time. So we had a very clear point of view on that, a clear point of view on the product, and that's where we based everything on. We threw, it was the big bet we made, and fortunate for us, it worked out.
No, I think it's really interesting, I think, with this brand, because, typically in the wearables realm, it's like, oh my God, how many different things can it track? And
Right.
It's like you kind of went counter to that as well, kind of eliminating some of the things that people could track. So talk to me about the decision to do that.
Really, we felt it was about keeping things simple, and easy to use. So charging. Charging was such a pain in the butt. So we said, that's it, no more charging. 6 months of battery life on a coin cell, kind of like a watch. And then you just switch it twice a year. How about that? And I think that kind of blew people away. They saw, okay, you know what? It was practically jewelry. That was what we were after. And so, anyways, we had a lot of fun doing that. And our point of view was very clear. We didn't have Iron Women and Olympic athletes. We had misfits. We had interesting looking people doing interesting things.
Like what? Tell me. Give me some examples.
Like we had a guy in a tuxedo running away from a bank with sunglasses with his activity tracker. Like what's he doing?
Yeah.
And we had dancers who had who were doing all sorts of amazing moves and doing interesting movements that totally different from the imagery and the design that other brands had.
You even had Missy Elliott, you told me.
Yeah, we did. We had Missy Franklin, who posed, Olympic athlete with our Speedo branded product, and that was a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I'm like such a fan, and but it was really, it was also about partnering with brands that had a very clear point of view that. Could emotionally and powerfully speak to segments, to people who wanted to swim, but hadn't developed that habit. We wanted to partner with Swarovski back in the day, and folks who really were into European crystal and European fashion.
Right.
And so that was a lot of fun.
Those are some interesting bedfellows, really, for a fitness or an activity tracker.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, you've decided to go in this direction, and I think so much of healthcare, there's a lot of question about how do you brand certain things, whether it be, something like a wearable or even like an experience, or even something like a hospital brand. Are there any brands that you think within healthcare could really benefit from taking, a more risque or a more aspirational philosophy to the way that they're marketing themselves?
I think all brands Look, I think the greatest brands are the ones that have a very clear point of view, where it's obvious what they stand for without having to say it. If you have to say, if you have to tell, then I think that defeats the point of trying to have that brand, because you should be able to show, not tell, right? That's base in branding 101. And I think there's some folks who are doing a great job. I mean, I think that there are, it's not like 2005s anymore. People have gotten smarter about this kind of thing, especially in healthcare and wellness and fitness. The question is, can we kind of operationalize it and build companies and products that are really appealing and really make a difference?
All right, so speaking of that, speaking of building new products, I understand that you're investing in some new technology, and how did you describe it? It's like any type of a breakthrough scientific discovery, was that right?
Sure, yeah.
All right, so talk to me about some of the things that you're investing in right now. What are you really excited about?
Look, after the Misfit experience, I was at Fossil, and then I've left a few months ago, and it was just a really wonderful experience. Wonderful experience doing Misfit, wonderful working with Fossil Group. They're just an amazing group of people. But I've always had a desire to work on science-related products, things that will really have planet-level impact. So it's really driven me to a few different areas: material science, semiconductors and chips, and synthetic biology. And a lot of it revolves around climate change reversal. But it's and many of them, these companies have very strong potential healthcare and wellness applications. So, like one example is this company called Matrix, which is a material science company. They've developed a new material that can generate power from heat, ambient heat. And so, just as a prototype to show that it could work, they built a watch that runs on this material that requires no power. It runs on your body heat. People didn't think it was possible, so they just made it. Instead of writing white papers and going to conferences and talking about it, forget that. Let's just make a product. And now, obviously, they're not focused on watches. Like, that's not a
it's a use case.
Yeah, it's just kind of a prototype. And the idea was to use this as a way of having a new power source, so that now you don't need to charge things all the time. And so the idea is, especially for healthcare applications, that where power is essential.
Right.
Now imagine eliminating the need for plugging in or batteries.
Right.
I mean, it has a battery to hold the operating power, but you don't need to replace it. You don't need to charge it. You don't need to plug it in. It just runs. And some of these, we'll be able to make products where you don't even need to wear it, but the heat in the environment will power the product.
Oh, wow.
No solar needed.
No.
Solar is limited because you got to have, the sun, right?
Yeah.
But what if you're in a cave or something like that? Well, the Matrix stuff will work just fine. And so this was like an example, and the idea is, they're not in the wearable space, obviously. They're really looking to be building connected products, whether it's Internet of Things or medical or healthcare products, or enable healthcare product makers to have a new kind of power source where no more charging, no more batteries.
That is incredible.
That's a big deal.
That's a really big deal.
So
I mean,
planet level impact, right? And eventually they're going to do cooling. And so imagine having small refrigerators and coolers or freezers for vaccine, for cold chain storage and whatnot, which is essential for healthcare. But no more compressors, no more these fans, the loud fans and pipes, and no more greenhouse gases. That's a big deal. Yeah, and so now we can do thermoelectric versions of those things, where we just use the material, you put energy into it, and it just turns cold. I mean, what material turns cold when you put energy into it? Usually it turns hot, right? Well, the other side's hot and then one side's cold. Use it for, and so I'm really excited about that. We've got also companies in the synthetic biology space that are producing food. You've heard about the clean meat revolution with the Impossible Burger. Amazing product.
Wait, for those who don't know, go ahead.
So there's a company that has basically made a vegan hamburger. And the meat is delicious. It tastes like, it smells like beef, ground beef. It sounds like beef when you fry it. I fried it once on stage. It certainly tastes like beef, but most astonishingly,
it's not beef.
It bleeds like beef.
Really?
It bleeds. It freaking bleeds. It's amazing, and I'm just such a fan. It was originally called the Impossible Burger, anyway, so that's one. There's a company that does eggs based on plant-based materials.
Okay.
Hampton Creek is what it used to be called. Now I think it's called Just. They may have a delicious vegan mayonnaise. And the company that I'm involved with, Perfect Day, they do animal-free dairy. So we're making dairy products that are delicious, clean, and that will be no cows required.
Oh, wow.
You know, but it's not like the tofu or rice milk stuff. That's not milk. That's like white liquid or whatever. This is real dairy products that taste like dairy, smells like dairy. In many ways, it is dairy, but you know, without the greenhouse gases created from the cows, the water utilization, the space utilization, all of that is dramatically decreased.
Interesting. We've come full circle on branding of this.
Yeah. Because and one of the problems is, and one of the big challenges in this clean food industry, which has huge healthcare implications. I mean, in terms of cleanliness of food, availability of food and nutrition, that's a huge part of healthcare and wellness. Is communicating it. You know, is this safe? Is it? It's actually safer because we don't have all the pesticide, all the antibiotic, all the stuff that you pump into animals, and it's delicious. That's the whole point. You know, that's our first goal. It's got to be delicious and clean, and over time, it's going to be affordable.
Okay, last question for you. We have a lot of startups that watch us, lots of innovators in this healthcare space. I mean, without the healthcare part of it, I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur and you're working with these young companies right now. What's your best advice? Best advice for an entrepreneur?
You know, well, they say you're a serial entrepreneur if you haven't really made it, you know? So we're still hustling, we're still doing that. But I would just say that, you know, if there's one thing I've learned over the years, I would just say I'd say there are two things that are pretty important I've learned in terms of, first, you know, in terms of building the team, right? A hugely important core function of building a startup. Having strong cultural fit, strong cultural cohesiveness, shared values, shared worldview is the most essential thing in building I would challenge more essential than competence.
Really?
Yes, which sounds crazy. It's like, well, you got a bunch of people get along, can't do anything. No. Well, you know, because you're going to build competence, build skills, and you can always outsource the things that you really need, you know? And I'd say go for cohesiveness, shared worldview, shared vision, and cultural cohesion over anything else. Okay. It's a strong challenge because you're like, well, what about the guy who's kind of a jerk, but he's amazing at Python or whatever? It's like, do not use him as a consultant, or use her for something else, but not core team member. So that's the first thing. I'd say the second thing that I've learned over the years is the most important function that the founder, the entrepreneur has. The most important function. It's not passion, it's not vision, it's not whatever, it's sales, okay? It's sales. And it's not just product sales, because you gotta, you know, keep the lights on, I get it. But you're trying to convince investors to give you money when it's exceptionally risky. You're trying to convince team members to join you when there's hardly any reason to join because you're going to get paid half as much for no job security. You're trying to convince media to talk about you when you have nothing to talk about because it's on the come. You're trying to convince partners to work with you when they really should be working with you. So it's like this. That's what you do all day long. You know, it's not coding because you can hire coders. It's not design because you can hire designers or outsource it. So it's really this function of persuasion and convincing, and that is what you should be refining, and that's what you have to do to keep the lights on and to grow the business, whether you like it or not. So, but it's actually fun because it's about, at the end of the day, it's about galvanizing talent towards a common vision. And that's fun, you know? And that's why a lot of people say passion-driven and obsession. That's important because that's what's authentic many times when it comes to storytelling.
Sonny, thank you so much for joining me. It's
Absolutely.
a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for all of the insight as well. I'm sure our audience will love that. I'm Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health here at Webit. Thanks so much for joining us.